if I gave you free Bitcoin with the goal of you becoming a true believer in Bitcoin, and you are now down 20% on that free Bitcoin I gave you, is my strategy still working? Yes, it's still working. Why is it working? Well, because my goal with giving away free Bitcoin is for people to become interested, aware, and to start educating themselves about Bitcoin. So when they get free Bitcoin, they start that process. They start watching its price. They start wondering what this thing that they got for free is. They start Googling it. They start asking ChatGPT. They start paying attention to when their friends are talking about Bitcoin. But wait, why is it still working if the price is down? Doesn't that just teach people that Bitcoin's price goes down? The answer is no, because I understand the psychology of the adoption of any asset. This is not unique to Bitcoin. You will not become a true believer in Bitcoin unless you experience your first bear market yourself. We are in a Bitcoin bear market right now. At least we probably are. Nobody really knows. Just like recessions, they don't actually call them until 6 months after they started, or a year after they started. They're like, oh yeah, by the way, we're in a recession. Well, the same with Bitcoin bear markets. Are we in a bear market? Probably, but you don't really know until you look in the rearview mirror. But people do not accumulate huge amounts of Bitcoin until their second bear market. Now, why is that? Because in their first bear market, they assume that they missed the boat. They assume that they bought it at the top and now it's going down and the party's over. And, it's a good thing that they're not putting any more money in Bitcoin. It's just the psychology of when you buy or you receive an asset is the first time the price dips, you think it's over. You think you're late to the party's over, all that. So for example, I have a friend at church that I gave $100 of free Bitcoin. And I've seen him a few times since then, and he was like, hey, the $100 you gave me is only worth $73. That was back when the price dipped. I don't know when the price dipped. The price must have been like $105,000 when I gave him the free Bitcoin or something. I don't know what it was. It was down enough. It must have been down 27% because his $100 was down to 73. Now, do I think he's going to buy more Bitcoin right now? No, he's not going to buy more Bitcoin. In fact, he's probably thinking, that was funny. Joel gave me $100 of free Bitcoin. It went down 27%. I'm so glad I did not put my own money in that. And he will continue to think that until that $100 is worth $130. And he's going to think, wait a second, Joel gave me this thing. I thought it was smart not to invest in it. I could have bought it at $73. Let's use round numbers. Let's say I could have bought it at 85,000. Now it's 130. Wow, I could have made a ton of money, but I didn't because I thought the party was over. So what people will start doing then is they realize, oh, I get it. It always comes back. Bitcoin always bounces back. And as soon as people realize that it always bounces back, they start investing in Bitcoin because the best asset in the world to invest in is one that even if the price is dipping, it always comes back. And if you know that an asset will be needed by all of humanity, which is money, and you know that Bitcoin is the best money, which it is, for all of the attributes, it's more durable, divisible, portable, fungible, authenticatable, and scarce than any other money in the world, then you know eventually it will become the money of the world, and you can get in on the very early stages of that right now, which means it's always going to bounce back because the demand for that best, most pristine money in the world will always eventually exceed the current price, regardless of the dip. So even if the price is dipping, it is serving a very valuable purpose, which is that friend of mine and hundreds like him that I've given free Bitcoin to in the last few months. All of those people are watching that price. They're all thinking, I got the Bitcoin at 120 or 105 or 95, whatever it is, and now it's below that price. And they have to get that out of their system. This whole, I bought it and then it went down. They got to get that out of their system to realize that it always comes back. And if I can give people free Bitcoin and they can watch it dip and then come back, it gets that first sort of bear market mentality out of their system, which then clears the way for them to accumulate more on the way up, and then especially on the next price correction. Because typically that's what people did. So for example, I gave a bunch of people free Bitcoin in 2022. And the market in Bitcoin did not bottom until November of 2022. So I remember there were multiple people I gave $50 of free Bitcoin to. Back then I was giving away $50 of free Bitcoin. I always try to give away like around 0.001. So back when the price was like $50, 50,000 a coin, I was giving away $50 of free Bitcoin. Now that the price is closer to $100, I give away $100 of free Bitcoin. I just round to the nearest sort of big number. So I'd given a bunch of people $50 of free Bitcoin. And I remember a couple of them told me that their $50 went as low as $17. Now that was 2022. That was before the Bitcoin ETFs. That was a totally different world of Bitcoin for $50 to go down to 17. That is a pretty, epic drop. But they remember that. And then when their $50 became $75 and then $80, they were like, oh, wow, the same thing that I could have bought for 17, that $50 that turned into 17, which is the equivalent of 100 turning into 34. Let's use round numbers. The $100 that turns into 34 and is now $150 or $200, they're thinking, well, that's interesting. Bitcoin was 34,000 a coin. And Joel gave it to me when it was, whatever. Again, using round numbers. I guess I can't really use round numbers that way. Anyway, so again, let's use, 50,000 a coin, and now it's down at 17, and they're like, I remember how low it got. And again, they lock that number in their heads, and they're like, I remember how low it went. Just like my friend at church, he's always going to remember that the $100 I gave him went down to 73. And eventually, when that $100 is worth a lot more, he'll realize Bitcoin always bounces back. And he will probably buy more on the way up. But most importantly, the next price dip will not be his first price dip, because I am getting that first price dip out of the way for him, letting him experience it at my cost. So I have given away tens of thousands of dollars. I've never totaled it up, but it's way up in the tens of thousands at this point of free Bitcoin to people over the years. Many of them go on and buy some of their own Bitcoin and are glad they did. Many of them don't. They just watch. They literally just watch the Bitcoin I gave them. They remember how high it went. They remember how low it went. And eventually they realize it always bounces back. And once you realize it always bounces back, you're sort of inoculated. It's like a vaccine that inoculates you from price dips in the future, because you realize, oh yeah, it did this before. It did this on that free $100 Joel gave me. And it's going to do it again and again and again throughout, the process of being monetized worldwide. But that second price dip is not nearly as scary if it's not your first price dip. And if I can get that first price dip out of the way at my expense, then that second price dip is a massive accumulation opportunity for you, because it means you can safely and comfortably buy Bitcoin at a discount. Because that second price dip, you can safely and comfortably buy Bitcoin in the future, because it always comes back, because you already saw it come back once on the free Bitcoin that I gave you. So when I give people free Bitcoin, it has a dual purpose. One, to get them interested in Bitcoin so that they research and study it, which will improve their lives. And second, so that they can experience the price ups and downs initially at my own expense, even though it's my hope that everybody I give free Bitcoin to buys more of it, because $100 of free Bitcoin is never going to create a life-changing amount of Bitcoin. You're going to have a lot more than $100 of Bitcoin for it to change your life. But even if you don't immediately buy more, you at least experience those price ups and downs at my expense. And you get that first big price dip out of your system where you remember those prices, but you didn't quite experience the pain of them, which again, it clears the way for you to accumulate more on the way up, and in future price dips to have the confidence to accumulate more on the way down, knowing that it will always come back, which it always does, which is why it's such an incredible asset and the best investment, in my opinion, that anyone could possibly make.